For some people, emojis and GIFs and general computer or text speak are the curse of the internet, and they're proof that people are getting way dumber and forgetting how to speak properly. In a world where cat memes and TikTok dances are hot topics of conversation, it's easy to fall into this trap. But research suggests that there might actually be a positive relationship between computer speak and literacy, with one study actually going so far as to correlate computer speak with higher levels of linguistic and cognitive skill. So far from being a sign that the world is doomed, emojis and GIFs might actually be your most useful tool when it comes to communicating online. Now, if you think about it, the idea that emojis could be a communication lifesaver actually makes a lot of sense, because when we communicate in real life, we use facial expressions, body language, and all sorts of things like tone of voice and non-verbal cues to get our message across. But if you stick a computer screen and a couple of 100 kilometers of cable between you and the person you're talking to, all of these subtle non-verbal clues are stripped away and you're left with just the words that you typed. And you really have to hope that those words are clear enough to be fully understood and that the person you're speaking to is paying enough attention to the context to be able to infer the correct meaning from what you've said. Now, more often than not though, the basic message gets through, but the nuances and meaning that make all the difference to how you communicate are lost. Well, emojis, creative punctuation, unusual spelling, animated GIFs and videos are a form of paralinguistic communication that adds a layer of additional meaning onto what you say, and it can help us communicate more effectively and clearly. At the very least, they're a communication safety net, because even if what you say isn't fully understood, the fact that there's an emoji or a GIF in there should be enough of a clue to the person you're speaking to that there's more to what you said than the precise words you used. And when you take into account the fact that a lot of people are communicating in a language which may not be their first or even their second language, anything that aids communication can only be a good thing. But going back to this idea that computer speak and emojis are somehow responsible for lowering levels of literacy and probably the fall of civilization as we know it, it's just not supported by the research. The truth is, nobody really knows for sure what effect they're having on literacy. There are various studies that go way back to 2009, but none of them agree on whether computer speak and emojis actually harm literacy. Now, some of them say that they do, others say that they don't affect literacy and that they're actually a sign of someone with higher literacy levels and cognitive skills. Other studies weasel a little bit and hedge their bets by saying, oh, it all depends on the context, so it may or it may not. But that's really not much use to anyone. But really, what we should be doing is looking at what exactly it is we mean when we say literacy in the first place. Now, back in Victorian times, literacy was a measure of whether you could read, write, and count well enough to be able to work in one of the factories. But thankfully our definition of literacy has come a long way since then, and we no longer have this outdated notion that literacy is this massive, big, standardized, monolithic thing that people have to master. In 2004, researchers whose names I can't pronounce set out what literacy means in a modern digital age, and they said that because communicating in the modern world takes a wide range of complex cognitive, motor, sociological and emotional skills, digital literacy really consists of a number of things. Firstly, we have photovisual skills, which allow us to read instructions from graphical displays and visual media. We have reproduction skills, which allow us to create new and meaningful content from existing material. Then we have branching skills, which we use to construct knowledge from non-linear information. Then there are information skills, which we use to evaluate the quality and the validity of information that we consume. And finally, we have socio-emotional skills, which we use to understand the rules of online communication. So emojis, like a lot of new communication styles that computers have given rise to, are simply just another dialect or maybe even a genre of text. Now, this doesn't make them inherently better or worse, it's just that they're designed for specific contexts where it makes sense to actually use them. If you go as far back as, say, 1980, you have people like Pearce and Cronin who reminded us that language and communication are governed by socially negotiated rules and agreed meanings. Now, what this means is that using emojis and the like is actually a democratic thing that groups of people subconsciously agree to use. So if people start using emojis and computer speak, it's not because standards are slipping, it's because the standards themselves are changing and evolving. Once you use them in moderation, emojis, computer speak and other creative methods of communicating are a tremendous help when it comes to communicating electronically. But the challenge is not to overdo it and make sure that the context is right. Remember that emojis in formal correspondence is still probably a bad idea, and writing an entire press release in emojis like Chevrolet did a few years ago is an even worse idea. Anyway, that's enough for this video. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms or suggestions, just pop them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you like this video. Take it easy.